Hello, legends. So, my next guest came to prominence, if that's even the right word, by speaking out in the Royal Marines Commandos about, let's say, preferential treatment served to females. And now, take a look at this.
This is Piccadilly Gardens, this is Birmingham, and this is Bradford. This was Piccadilly Gardens, this was Birmingham, and this was Bradford. Demographic change has destroyed all of these once beautiful places. If you live in this country, you will witness over the next 25 years every single city, town, and neighborhood destroyed by unwanted invaders. That lovely place that you like to go as a family, the place that's unspoiled by uninvited invaders, can and will turn into no-go areas filled with dangerous strangers. If you don't want our whole nation to end up like Birmingham, unite together as one people. We were never asked. Remigration now. This is Piccadilly Gardens. This is Birmingham.
Oh, let me just pause that. It's going to be a fascinating chat. Let's get into it. Boom. John, how are you, brother?
I'm very good, Chris. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you coming here to talk to me.
Mate, not a problem. You've been in the trenches.
No.
Still in there from looking at your Instagram videos.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I saw some... So, a while back, you came to the forefront because you were speaking out about something called DEI, and it was in reference to your service in the Royal Marines and the fact that when you served, unlike me, females were allowed to join, which we can unpick that as we go on. It's yes. And first thing, John, I had to do an internet search. What is DEI? Because I don't watch any mainstream media, and I work for myself. I do have a degree in youth and community work, incidentally, which is a big factor of youth and community work is anti-discriminatory practice.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, as you and I well know, there's a big difference between being anti-discriminatory, which is, I don't know, being horrible to people who are battling addiction, for example, and not recognizing it as a mental health condition. There's a difference between that and being completely woke and brainwashed and wanting Coco the clown for prime minister. Or, well, we actually got that, didn't we? So that was that. So over to you.
Okay.
Yes. First off, when you joined, was it already a thing when you went through training that women were allowed to join the commandos?
Yeah. So it was 2019, I believe. It was under Theresa May. She decided, I don't think based on any research that would have shown anything. Everything has to be based off of operational effectiveness. I don't think there was any operational effectiveness study that was done or anything of those types. And that decision was made, obviously, for political reasons. Made that in 2019, and I was training 2022. In that year, there was a couple of girls that tried, I think, in that time. It was what it was. But you start to hear the stories of the preferential treatment. You start to see the preferential treatment that they're being given, and then as you go along and you get through your career a little bit, you start to understand the political strings that are being pulled and pushed, and the whole dynamic around it. So that's sort of an opening introduction as to the core and where they were at that time.
Yeah, and when we say it's like political leanings and that kind of thing, are you aware, John, of the history of the destruction of the nuclear family?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
yeah. That I always refer to them as the cabal or the merchants,
Right.
who, you know, people who watch my channel know I say this a lot. They took control of the money supply 4 to 6 thousand years ago.
Right.
They moved with the empires. They got their hooks into everything. They left their esoteric societies, their debt-based money system, their religion, and all of this stuff as control measures. So when the empires pulled back, and this bunch of people allegedly absconded to Venice, hence Venetians.
Okay.
They had their plan for what's commonly referred to as the New World Order, which, in conjunction with the European banking aristocracy and groups like the Sabbatean Frankists, they've put together this total destruction of the West, basically. Right. What used to be referred to as the cradle of Europe or the cradle of civilization. I know people will say that's Persia, and I'm not arguing that. But and so when I see it, I don't just think this is a useless government, and if we can just get rid of Keir Starmer, everything's going to be fair. I see an incredibly astute plan being executed, just like we did in the military, planned, prepared, all the 7 Ps, and it's now being executed. And sadly, the population has become so
docile.
I'm not going to say dumbed down because that's rude, but docile with their scrolling and the I'm preaching to the choir. So going back to the females in the military, this is not, to me, this is not about equality. This is about the further destruction of the very fabric of society.
Yeah.
And more trauma on babies and children, because you're the bond between an infant and its parents is so important in the early stages. Especially your mother, who, even your pheromones and stuff, you have this chemical bonding with. To think that you're like, oh, nah, my mother, I didn't see her for the first 10 years of my life because she was in the Marines. She was in the Middle East, slotting people and chucking hand grenades and, going in with a bayonet and tearing people apart. She's a great mother, by the way. It all starts to break down, John, Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're on the money there with aspects of that where it's like, let's have a think. People look at it and they just take it at face value. It's like, oh, they just want, they want more equality, and they're trying to be nice deeper down. But I think what's happening and what a lot of people are realizing is that the government and, international corporations and people that want people to be docile, the people that want people to be, better consumers and that sort of thing, they want to have greater control. The government especially wants to have greater control. And that's what putting women in the armed forces is about. It's not about being nice. It's not about being kind. It's about putting loyalists in positions of power. Because if you got your job because of DEI, you're going to be loyal to that. You're going to be loyal to that movement. And if you're put in there as a sort of, the antithesis of hard work and courage and determination, all the values that we live by, if you got in there via scheming and, taking advantage of political situations, you're going to be loyal to the political situation and not the lads. You know what I mean? That's where a lot of people have a concern, especially since, the lads were never asked. The lads were never asked if they were okay with their group, our group, being completely transformed into something new. having to take into account all these logistical changes that will have to be put in place, such as, okay, you want women to be fighting on the front lines, well, now you're going to have to supply tampons to the front lines, and you're now going to have to supply birth control. All these extra things that come on top of it, not to mention the cultural changes. None of those things are taken into account. It's all about removing the loyalty that the lads have for each other. Because as far as I'm concerned, the government see the Marines and they see the armed forces and the elite armed forces as an obstacle to their, well, tyranny, to be honest. So,
yes, and there's also a glowing factor here that I haven't heard mentioned, and that is that the Royal Marines have an incredibly proud 400-year-old history of being the best fighting regiment on the planet of blokes. You know,
the whole time,
with one exception that we all learn about in training. Hannah, rest in peace. What am I trying to get at here, John? I'm trying to say that clearly we have nothing against women. Otherwise, we'd be fucking dickheads, wouldn't we? That's not what we're getting at. Secondly, we're not against women getting ahead in whatever career that their specific skill set is suited to. But to force this one through, you call it, you referred to it as political. Yes, great. But obviously, the deeper the merchants control everything. They're just destroying this country. They're destroying people, and they're laughing at us as they do it because we're all so dumb and behind the freaking curve, you know. Because no one reads books anymore. No one educates themselves. Everyone believes the Hollywood narrative.
Also, nobody wants to. Nobody. The average person doesn't like to think that there are people that are that evil. You know.
Exactly. And what I'm trying to get at is, it used to be an elite job for the toughest men on the planet. How are they going to feel when they look over the shoulder and there's, you know, a girl, no disrespect girls, but she's been helped through training. You know, someone carried some weight for her because it couldn't quite, because it was a political move. It wasn't based on merit. And John, sorry, I do appreciate I'm talking a lot. It's just I invited you on the show because this is what I kind of, like, I wanted to get all this out and see what you think of it, right? I was on ship. I was on the first ship in British history, as far as I know, with the odd exception of Hannah Schnell, of having women on board. So I served on an aircraft carrier for a year and a half. It was a phenomenal experience. All the Matlows started wearing aftershave down to breakfast. Some of us had some, you know, how can we say, some shenanigans going on with our wonderful wrens, and they was a great bunch of girls, absolutely brilliant. The issue came is that to be on ship, you've got to literally use a hose pipe, you know, the hose reel, to lift a 20-stone stoker from down in that hatchway on the floor up the ladder, or can't remember the naval name for a ladder now. Someone's gonna put it in the comments.
It's beyond me.
And you've got to get that around them, and you've got to haul them up that ladder in thick black smoke because you've just been hit by a you know, an Exocet supplied by the French to the Argentinians.
Or the Israelis.
Also the Israelis,
while they were at war.
And it's at that point, you know, this is more political than anything
lads
else.
are just caught in amongst it. It's a shame. Like, I don't think people really know what to do with it. But I'd say if for the people that are watching that are sort of on the outside, don't really know about this sort of thing, like, there are very incredibly high standards in the Marines for a reason. That is because the Marines go to the front line of every single conflict. And And in those places, it's arduous. It's really tough, and you need to be tough. If you're not capable of meeting the same standards as the lads around you, you'll hold the pack back. You'll either get yourself killed or somebody else killed. And that was the biggest emotional string for me that pulled, where I realized, you know what, I've been trained to say that I will speak out against the hierarchy if they're doing something immoral. And they're pushing somebody through that could get my mates killed. That's a red line for me. So that's where I drew that line. And that's what I want the average person listening to understand, because they make a straw man. Oh, you just don't like women. You just don't like, that's not even remotely true. It's just, I don't want my mates to be killed. And if I have to be called a sexist or, a far right bigot or whatever, I don't really care. If the decision that I've made has resulted in one of my mates not being killed, I'm quite happy to take all the fuck. I'll do it 100 times again.
Did you, John, witness while you were in training women going through?
As in like being pushed through training who haven't met standards?
Like, to me, this is complete, like, anathema, I think is the word. Like, we just had blokes. It was a bloke's job, and you just saw blokes knocking around camp.
Yeah.
Usually,
I saw birds on bottom field, Chris. I saw birds on bottom field who had absolutely no business being there, and were miles behind the rest of the pack. And just looking at that, you're just thinking, right, I was explaining this to Craig Houston, who I was on the other day. I was like, when I'm fireman's carrying, because I'm like 90 kilos, so I'm like, at various times was, top 3 biggest people in the troop. Not trying to big myself up, but then like the top, so that puts me with either the second to top or the top biggest bloke in the troop. So that's like me, 90 kilos, biggest bloke in the troop, 110 kilos, You've got 200 kilos there, plus all kit and rifle. There's 250 kilos worth of kit in a fireman's carry that you're having to take across the field. So everybody on that, all the lads on that line are capable of doing that. And the ones that weren't were binned off. The problem that everybody has with what's happening with women in the Marines is that they're saying, oh, we're not lowering the standards. And they're not, technically. But they're allowing women through. And this is something that, like, they're like, oh, give us evidence. It's like, well, there's plenty of evidence there to be had from Marines that have seen this stuff, but they won't go public about it because of the political pressures and the fact that they'll end up like me, losing their job. You know what I mean? So it's just that you can't have that happening. I can't have a woman be put aside, one of my mates, that is not capable of lifting them out of a dangerous situation. So that's I think that's more to what you're saying there on the ships, man. It's just like, you can have them there and it works, when the shit isn't hitting the fan. When the shit hits the fan, all of these cracks in the foundations are going to be very evident.
I mean, there's a lot going on in this equation. I mean, I would say just because there's an anomaly in the female of the species and some women will come forward and get through, that in itself doesn't warrant changing the whole of the Royal Marines.
No. They can have their own group. If there are some outstanding girls, that they're massively, they're just born different or whatever, go make your own group, go do your own thing, and if you're so great, you'll be able to shine on your own back. But what they're currently trying to do is just mess with what we have, man. And it's not like girls, and girls aren't the ones that are doing it. It's not about pitting men against women, and that's what annoys me about this whole situation. It suddenly becomes like a man versus woman thing. And the people that are pushing this, they don't care, about either side, about men or women. They just want more power, more destruction. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, how did you feel when you saw like the whole thing sort of kicking off? Like, do you speak to any of the lads with things, or?
I think I saw Ant Middleton came straight out and just said that this is a crock. I was kind of. It's a difficult one for me, John, because the honest truth is, obviously, I'll always be exceptionally proud of serving my time. Of course, you know what it's like. I know what it's like. I'll always be a part of that family, and and hence why I do so much in the veterans community, because I get it. I get all of it, you know. The honest truth is, when I left camp for the last time, I didn't even look back.
Right.
It, you know, we like to remember the glamorous side of what we did. If you can call, you know, crawling through the Norwegian Arctic, freezing cold and wet, glamorous. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed being on the front line in the Northern Ireland conflict. That was, I've got literally no negatives to take away from that, except the fact, obviously, we had a chap killed.
Yeah.
But you know, I think in life you got to be a bit realistic. You got to frame things the way they are. Loads of it was shit. Right? There was some idiots in there. A lot of hanging around waiting because this person that's in charge of you didn't have the balls to say, look, lads, just thin out for the weekend. I'll take, if it comes to it, I'll take the rap, you know. So you're waiting in a shitty room, sitting on your backpack, wishing you could just leg it for the train or your motorbike or the car or whatever. And that was that. Obviously, as I've matured, I now understand the entirety of war, what purpose it serves, who you're actually working for, not who you think you're working for, and the role of the military-industrial complex. As anyone who was even had half an eye open during 9/11 would have worked out now that we weren't the good guys, you know? So with that in mind, when I saw this, was I wasn't going to go and lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
I'm more kind of, it's more of a niggle when you understand the New World Order, that this is nothing to do with equality or furthering women's rights. All this is about their satanic, you know, population control and further abuses on children, really. When they ripped apart the nuclear family and women started going to work under the notion that, hey, this is empowerment, what they're not factoring in is that all-important bond with the infant, with the toddler, with the baby, whatever it might be, is that child is being traumatized. Its main caregiver is not that, you know, is not always around. I know this isn't the same for every single woman that goes to work, but
you can generalize, you know. You can generalize, like, and the general truth is the truth, you know, and the exceptions are exceptions. But it's like not being allowed to generalize is one of the most obscene things that's happened to our society, where it's like, oh, so I can't speak about the 99% of people that, you know, this is negatively affected because of the 1%. You know what I mean? It's like we should be able to talk about the vast majority, you know?
Yeah. I was just thinking more that sort of, you know, women do take time off work to look after. I don't know. Our little one went into not. I don't know if you call it childcare, but went to like a creche.
Yeah.
So mum could go back to work, and I wouldn't like to think that stunted their development, you know, or traumatized. They seem to have a great time, you know, doing the paintings and shoving jelly in their ears and all that stuff that they do. But What was the general consensus of the lads then when all this was going on?
Yeah, I spoke to hundreds of people before and hundreds of people after, and that's like in person. You know, the reason I put the petition together, I suppose the context we're missing here from the whole story, is I put a petition together to state the lads' concern about this whole thing, right? And I just spoke to so many people, and they were like, basically apoplectic about the whole thing, but at the same time wouldn't do anything because of their job. And I just was like, come on, surely there's somebody here that's gonna do the thing. Like there's the problem, there's the really dangerous thing that's like happening, and nobody's willing to go like, hold on, you know, you can't do that. And you know, I'm not gonna say unfortunately, but I ended up realizing, okay, that has to be me. Okay, I'm not going to wait around for somebody else to do it. That has to be me. So did that. And after it was like, the lads were just like, yeah, in a day, 1,000 people signed it. And everybody that I spoke to was like, yeah, I signed it. You see that petition? Yeah, I signed it. Yeah, yeah. And, I spent quite a while writing it and made sure that it reflected what the lads think and the lads' concerns. That's why it popped off so fast. And that's why they had to clamp down on it so fast as well, because they can't have the lads sort of, they can't have them really uniting in that way. Like they don't want that level of unification amongst the lads, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, sorry, long answer to a short question. The lads overwhelmingly are massively in support of what I did, how I did it, the petition as a whole, but not so much what I did. It's like the petition. That's why I wanted it to not be connected to me, because it was the lads' words condensed into a petition. We all signed it. Yeah, it's one of those. So supporting, I would say, would be the answer.
Just a little side, go off at a tangent here, and we will come back to the point in question. But I saw at least one person was a bit pissed off.
Yeah, Major Rick Cole.
Say
Is
again?
that right? Major Rick Cole?
No, I'm talking an outside observer that I saw on social media somewhere. Couldn't remember it if you gave me £1 million.
Yeah.
But their point was kind of when the lads' egos are in question, they stand up and do something about it. But when they jab them with a
Yeah.
a BI, with a certain that they all bowed down like sissies and like took it in the ass, basically.
Well, that's one thing that, and if you want to go down that side, I'll happily go down. I remember in training, so it was just sort of, fresh, fairly fresh after COVID, and COVID and the whole, the absolute corporate control of all of that, how they managed to push this untested and now we know incredibly dangerous product on everyone, and force people to have it, make people lose their jobs and ruin lives and all those sorts of things. It was fresh out of that. I was in training, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to go for your jabs?" And I was like, I just went to the medical person. I was like, "I'm not going to have any of these jabs." They were just like, "Oh no, you have to have them. You won't get deployments," and that's what they kind of threaten lads with. And it's a shame, like, to those people that say, "Oh well, they just bow down." It's like, these lads have come from horrendous backgrounds. The identity of the Corps is so strong and such a brotherhood. And when it gets to the point of like, okay, all you need to do is just accept this jab, accept this vaccine. There's absolutely zero data on the longitudinal effects of the vaccine and the all-cause mortality. None of these things are properly tested, but you need to just accept it. Unfortunately, yeah, a lot of the lads who, they're not political or whatever, they just want to pass training and do the right thing, and it's a shame that they put lads in those positions, because it's blackmail. Basically, you either get this product that we have a contract to give you, or we remove your deployments, which isn't something I don't think they really actually do that. They're not really organized enough to do that, to remove people's deployments. But I just said to him, I was like, no. And then they made me go to the chief medical officer, and he was like, oh, explain your thinking. Well, I was like, well, we've just come out of COVID. It's been proven beyond a doubt that the medical industry and corporations are willing to forego testing, forego morals, forego all manner of for like a actual, just testing, I suppose, but just for huge amounts of profit. So I was just like, so not only am I not having the COVID ones, but I'm not having any other ones either, because my trust for them is gone. And eventually he was like, okay, you can not have them. So it's funny you bring that up. It's another thing. It's another thing that is pushed on the lads, that they have to endure, unfortunately.
Yes, my kind of ire, if that's even the right word, is I'm more directing it at the bosses, the OCs and the COs. Where were you? You basically let, in some cases, trillionaire businessmen from a cabal that if you were half awake, in your life, you'd see these guys are bloody good at network. They locked everybody on the planet in their houses for 2 years, and everyone went along with it over a complete fiction, right?
Yeah.
And you would have thought that one troop boss or one company commander or dare I say, you know, the commandant general would have had the guts to go, listen, this is not happening with my men. You know, we're not letting these trillionaire hawks who've already taken us into 20 years of illegal conflict. Now they want to use our guys as guinea pigs. It's not even, it wasn't even guinea pigs, was it? It was something far more sinister. But sorry, I just wanted to bring that point up.
No, mate, it's actually really worth bringing up. It's really, I'm actually glad you did, because I wouldn't have brought up that point, because it's another level of gaslighting that they inflict on people. I think to answer to maybe not to like, it's people are going to be like, hey, you're standing up for the chain of command. That's not very. But like, my issue with the was more with that really high up Ministry of Defense people that were pushing this DEI stuff. But in terms of troop bosses, colonels, that sort of thing, like or anyone really, I can empathize with anybody that doesn't stand up to this stuff, because it's gaslighting. You feel like the level of gaslighting. You don't want to be that first person to be like, hey, I think this is really immoral. Do you know what I mean? Because it feels like everybody else is going along with it, until you realize everybody else, if you actually speak to them, they also have the exact same opinions, and we're all just living under this weird sort of you know, it's similar to sort of, you know, Soviet Russia, the level of thought control that we're living under. But at least we're in a free democracy, you know.
Yes, there was. I was in touch with a lot of serving Royal Marines during that period, because I led something called the Global Veterans Alliance during that period.
Right.
And I'd say we were probably responsible for the NHS not having to undergo it the mandatory procedure.
Nice.
Not single-handedly, but when your veterans are coming out in ever increasing numbers and saying no, that poses a threat to the powers that be, doesn't it? But what I did know is there was a lot of underground networking going on in the Corps. There was a big underground group of guys that shall remain nameless, and they had figured a way around this conundrum. You know, it's quite clever actually. So yes. So there you are, and you're basically arrested for this on terrorism. How did it play out?
Yeah. So basically, put the petition out, then, you know, chain of command shits themselves, starts flapping, you know, and I'm not talking about like the immediate chain of command. I'm talking about like the Ministry of Defense sort of chain of command, and you know, the higher ups in I say the higher ups. There's one bloke in the Royal Marines, quite commonly referred to. I'm not going to call him necessarily a traitor, but quite commonly referred to a traitor amongst the lads. He just started targeting the lads after this came out, and saying that anybody that disagreed with pushing women through, you know, I mean, it's not exactly how he framed it, but anybody that disagrees with this is just a sexist bigot, and, you know, they're going to lose their job, and if you don't say this, you've got to come into my office, and just threatening lads, and just being an absolute utter, you know, in the opinion of most people, absolute utter scumbag. You know, it just goes against the code, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, coming after another one of your own. I never, publicly at least, never would have expected that, but it happened. There is that one bloke. So he and the Ministry of Defense came after me, started doing this investigation. They'd tracked my IP, and they were tracking my comms and stuff like that. But they can't like say that openly, because they want to be seen to be not not tracking people's comms and not
Yeah,
not
not communist bloody.
yeah. They want to be seen to be, like it's very important to be seen to be a free democracy, that sort of thing, when in fact it absolutely isn't. So they figured that out very quickly. I actually didn't really try and do much to withhold my IP or anything like that. I just wanted to get out there. So they found me, and then they started coming to 4-3, basically trying to weed me out. Going to the lads, threatening the lads careers, threatening their deployments. Just these little slime, these like Ministry of Defense, mod main slime coming to our building and threatening our lads for signing this thing, and saying, oh, you need to give this person up, and pitting the lads against each other, blackmailing, just any sort of disgusting tactics that you would use on terrorists. You would use these on your enemies. I think in a lot of ways that's how they think of the lads. So that was the next sort of stage.
When you join a corps, you join all the people you kind of admire in the corps are the massive legends, aren't they? The ones that are like don't give a shit about anything, that'll stand up and fight when you need them to, and a good laugh on a night out and all this kind of, and then when you have to, and it's okay for sort of NCOs and that kind of thing, but when you start to move up the chain, you basically have to adopt all of those negative aspects of being a civil servant, of being a sort of bureaucracy adhering, yes man, and it's not pleasant really. Yeah. So those Ministry of Defense slime were pushing against us. Eventually, I just realized, right, I'm not going to have them come and threaten the lads. So I'll just go and tell them I did it. Did that, and then they fly me down to the Ministry of Defense main building, and then just practically like interrogate me there. And to answer your question, how I got to the terrorism thing, they push across this piece of paper, and it's Rupert Lowe's face. Now I had spoken to Rupert Lowe on 2 occasions to try and see if I could get some political support for the lads, because I was like, right, you know what, they're going to come after the lads, and we need some politicians to be in our corner, so that and I thought, I think he seems like a good bloke, so I spoke to him. Anyway, they pushed this across, and then they basically, long short of it is, since I spoke to Rupert Lowe, I am an extremist. He's an official MP, he's been voted in, but I'm an extremist. That's why I was referred to Prevent. So they refer me to Prevent, and unlike Axel Rudikabana, who was referred to Prevent 3 times and they never pulled him up, and he went and murdered a bunch of children, I was referred to Prevent and picked up first time, because obviously somebody in the Ministry of Defense has put it over. It has more credence there. So and then I come back off a holiday, and they drag me into a room against my will and take all my phones, make me give the codes to all my phones. By the way, I only have 2 phones. I've got one phone for calls and texts. It's a dumb phone. I'll show you. That's my dumb phone. I try and use that most of the time. But then I have like a phone for like audiobooks and stuff. So there's really not much on there, but it doesn't, it's not something you would expect to happen to one of our people who isn't really a terrorist, who just put out a petition. And I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to justify how they were going to come after me. Because I'd gotten amongst, like you say, it's bigger, and I'd gotten amongst this big game, this big anti-white, anti-male, anti-nuclear family, like you say, game. I'd gotten their way, and they wanted to destroy me for it. So that's why they pull me up on these terrorism charges, or not charges, but like pull me up under terrorism law to try and find something to use as dirt to get one up on me. So after that point, I was like, right, they fucking escalated this. I'm going to be escalating this. Do you know what I mean? I'm not allowing them to just crush the lads and crush this whole thing that we all care about and that could lead to the death of my mates. I'm not allowing that to happen. So I basically went public with it after that point, when they proved they were incapable of dealing with it in a mature way. That's,
play stupid games, win stupid prizes, basically. So.
And how did it come about then, John, that you left?
Yeah, so basically, after that point, I ended up going on my brother's YouTube channel and went on like Talk TV to talk about it because I could see what they were trying to do. I'm politically savvy anyway, and I knew that what they were going to attempt to do was just bury the lads, yeah, and just and carry on with their dangerous situation. So I went public about it, and then I was basically put on leave by the chain of command. Like my immediate chain of command and everybody that like all the Marines I spoke to were all mega sound. Do you know what I mean? Like up and down the chain of command, everybody was sound. And they were just looking out for me really. And they could see I'd got myself, caught amongst something that really didn't want to be caught amongst, to be honest, Chris. Like, I would do this 100 times again, but at the same time, I was known as No Comms John because I'd never be on like social media or anything. I would just have like my books, my dumb phone. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a social media type person. So they pushed me into this thing, put me on leave, and eventually, after a while, they make it very clear to me that I wasn't being kicked out because of my political beliefs, and I think that was something they really needed to do, and the legal people that were involved with them had to take a step back and I'm moving back a bit, like when I went public about it, the Ministry of Defense was running an actual smear campaign on me, literally going to different news outlets, and I have this confirmed, saying, "Oh, you need to say this guy's a far right extremist," and that was built on built on the fact that I'm a part of the Homeland Party. It's an official party. All I'd done with the party up till that point was plant trees and pick litter, which in this day and age appears to be an extremist position and undertaking. But fast forwarding to me getting released was they had to make it very clear your political alignment has nothing to do with this. We're releasing you because you talk to the press, more or less. So that's how they framed it. And to be honest, like, yeah, I felt bad for the chain of command because they don't want to be doing what they're doing, and they're stuck in a tough situation. Everybody's in this tough situation where you've got to do, they're being pushed to do something that they don't want to get rid of this guy. This whole situation shouldn't happen to begin with, but a lot of them seem to feel bad. I actually felt bad for them. I was like, they were firing me, and I was like, just don't worry. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that came about, Chris, and so that was a fairly clean strike, and it happened relatively fast. That was July 10th, actually, that I'd been released, and so that was what transpired there.
Any regrets?
No. I mean, okay, well, it's like, it's mixed because I don't regret what I did. And I'd do it 100 times again. But if you had asked me what I thought my Royal Marines career would have been, it certainly wouldn't have been, just kind of mince around a while. And, well, mincing around isn't fair because that's, but like just be in for a short time, not achieve really that much, and, leave under these circumstances. But that's a very small part of me, whereas the larger part of me just thinks, to be honest, I think I was put in the Marines to do what I did. Do you know what I mean? If nobody else was there to do it, then clearly I was the only one. I'm not trying to say like I was the chosen one, not at all. But it's a flip side where it's like, everybody wants kind of like a big illustrious career where they can really make a difference and make a real contribution. But on the other side, it's like, I would have never been able to live with myself, to be honest, Chris, if I didn't say anything about this. And instead of us talking now about this thing that happened months ago that's kind of fizzled out, we'd be here talking about, one of my mates that has died, or you'd be here talking with somebody else about the fact that I'd been killed in a dangerous situation with somebody that shouldn't have passed. So how about yourself? Any regrets on your front? with your career?
No, absolutely
No?
not. I literally live in paradise, John.
Nice.
Every
That's good.
day, and I have
That's
done
good.
I have done now since 19. Gosh, I'm trying to think when my sort of enlightenment, probably 1998.
Right.
And when I look at my life now and I think how fortunate I am, especially to be I know everyone's a proud father, but I'm the proudest. Then I know I've done everything right, don't I? You know,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I've got the perfect life, I must have lived a perfect life, and that doesn't mean that I haven't upset people and made mistakes. And
Yeah.
there's I'm not like a sociopath or something. There are things I regret, but what I mean is, like, I never, looking back, I wish I'd never have hurt anyone. But I guess this is
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the complicated web that's called growing up and developing, etc., etc. So no, not at all. It's
That's good.
I'm kind
That's
of
really good.
interested to ask, because how do the lads that serve now, how do they reconcile themselves with the fact that they were actually working for the military industrial complex? So basically
Yeah.
the cabal and the New World Order, and that
Yeah.
whatever freedom and democracy is, the lads are serving the complete opposite, which I know I'm not judging anyone, John. I'm too old to care. I just think since those
It's a good
events in
question.
New York and Washington, I think it really framed what the military is about. And I just wanted to ask, for those people out there that are like, Chris, why didn't you ask him that? I just want to know, how do they how did you justify serving in that environment?
Mate, it's a really good question, because I think we're at a turning point in our society now where I don't think we can really get involved in a foreign war anymore. There's not the heart for it. There's not the everybody's kind of wise. Whether it's overtly aware of everything that's happening, or just kind of tacitly aware that we shouldn't be getting involved in foreign conflicts. Trying to push whatever democracy or whatever the pretense is. Everybody's kind of aware of that, and we're now at a situation where there aren't really any foreign wars that we would get involved in. It's obviously you got Ukraine or whatever. That's maybe some slight exception, but we're definitely not going to be going there to, serve in the front lines with them. And the idea of actually being involved in a real foreign conflict is kind of absurd. And to the lads now, to answer your question, how do they reconcile? I don't think they do. There's the morale crisis in the armed forces, the retention crisis in the armed forces is severe. I think it's got to be worse than it ever has been, because the very core of what people need out of beyond brotherhood and beyond being together as one unit is meaning and direction, and the feeling that you're doing worthwhile work, and that what you're doing as a Marine will have a positive impact on our nation and protect our people. That, like, I saw an advert the other day where it was like an army advert. It's like, oh, what's in it for me? And that was the whole crux of the advert, was trying to advertise to people that are just selfish. Do you know what I mean? But most of the lads aren't like that. Most of the lads joined at huge expense. I took a 15K pay cut to join the Marines. Do you know what I mean? And most of the lads are there because they're patriots. They want to do something right. But then they get in there and they realize, really, what's happening to our nation is it's being torn apart from an enemy that's hard to keep it. Like, it's hard. It's an intangible enemy. We seem to be getting torn in all different directions. And you're just sitting there paying through the nose for this food in the canteen, right? Or in the galley or whatever. Paying for this food in the galley, eating these incredibly tiny portions of food, thinking to yourself, why am I here eating this incredibly expensive food when all across the nation you have these hotels where people have literally invaded the country we're being invaded through the southern border, right? And they're coming here, and I'm having to pay through the nose for this. I'm a patriot. I've served the country. I'm doing all this sort of positive things that I think will be good for my nation. But you have people that invade the country, are destroying the country, and are being served first for free, and giving everything is being given to them. And so, how do the lads reconcile being like a part of the military-industrial complex and the fact that our nation is being eroded from within? I actually just, in a lot of ways, Chris, I just don't think they are. Like they're not reconciling it at all. It's this really dark situation where the lads are just the morale is terrible because of the lack of vision, the lack of foresight, the lack of actually doing anything worthwhile. And everybody is just talking about, why aren't we going to the southern border? You know what I mean?
Yes, crazy, isn't it? We've got the best military force on the planet in our Royal Marines Commandos and our Navy, and the simple fact they haven't even been tasked to go down to the Channel it tells you everything. The what do you call it? The Border Patrol boat is based in Plymouth, or at least one of them is. It's this. It's like a sort of it's like a little frigate sort of size ship, you know. I'd never seen it go out. It was
right. Yeah.
It was in dock for the best part of a year. I know, because my Atlantic rowing boat was in the same yard. Yes, so you're saying the lads, I'm guessing you got some that are ambivalent, some just don't want to know, some are probably not smart enough to have worked it out. Some are hyped up on their own ego, thinking that they're the be all and end all, and everything the Marines does is just brilliant, which I suppose that was kind of the category I came into. Yes, it's just sad, isn't it? They're stabbing them like guinea pigs. They've just literally destroyed the best blokes club on the planet, the most elite force known to man, certainly infantry force. By now, it's not a blokes club anymore.
Yeah.
On top of that, no one spoke out about 9/11. Now, I'm not aware. I think I'm probably the only person.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there's other Marines that, but I don't think they've probably got a platform like this. It's what I'm trying to say is I completely get it. It doesn't really say a lot. That I don't think that career is what it is. Say if you joined up after the Falklands like I did.
Yeah. It's a shame the time that we are in now, and what the lads are sold versus what they get, and just that sort of feeling of just being a muzzled like dog, basically. Like we want to go out and do what we naturally should be doing, but we're not. We're not. The will of the average person is to defend our nation and keep our nation safe, secure the borders. But that will is not being passed on to the people in charge, and it's just the morale. It's a crisis. Everything's a crisis. There's a crisis in the military. There's a crisis in the southern border. There's a health crisis. Like the whole nation is redlining, and it's the same in every different sector. Everybody's having these same thoughts of like, it's just decay and moving backwards, while the East appears to be skyrocketing. And you look at these cities in China where it looks like some futuristic, utopia, and we then look out the window and just think like, oh, we're being cast aside over here, and we're supposed to be like, there's supposed to be accountability and freedom of choice and democracy and all these sorts of things that we're being sold. And then you look at the reality of what we have is like the average person and their will for the future of the nation is maybe taken into account 5%, whereas in the rest of the world, in the east of the world, they're supposed to be these horrendous dictatorships, but they actually serve the people to a greater degree than our governments do. Like the Englishman is, and I would happily contest this with anyone, the white Englishman is the most oppressed person on planet Earth.
Yes, absolutely. And also the most, I remember during the nonsense, as I call it, I refuse to call it the C word and the number, because if you give power to these maniacs, they just create the next load of bullshit,
That's fair.
And I know it's nonsense because, folks, if you're in any doubt, right, I've been taking super greens now for... Sorry, John, I'm just showing some super greens on the screen.
That's all right.
Folks, I started taking super greens in 2003 because I was fed up with being ill. I had the coughs, the colds, the flu, and just like every other indoctrinated person in this country, I blamed it on other people. It wasn't the fact that I had a toxic carbohydrate diet, chips, pie and chips, pasty and chips, pizza and chips, yada, 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 that was flooding my body with sugar, basically. And my cells were saying, Chris, I can't continue like this, mate. I've got to detox. Blah! Right? No, I blamed it on other people because I'd bought into a certain, way of thinking, narrative, you can say. So, folks, there's a link for Super Greens down below. Super Greens incredibly alkalizing, and if you don't, and I haven't been ill since 2003, I suggest you do the same. This has been massive on my spiritual enlightenment journey, and just breaking through the bullshit of the cabal and understanding the huge lie that the apoplectic in psychosis nation is under. There's a link below. Sorry, John, I'm not sure I got talking about super greens. I was going to make a point to that. Oh yeah, during the nonsense, I was down in Padstow, the little fishing village in Cornwall, where Rick Stein's got all the restaurants and everything. And I just remember I was looking in a shop window, and this lad came up. Right now, 400 years ago, 1,000 years ago, this lad would have come from a village in England. He would have been born a scrapper. He'd probably have been, maybe would have been an archer. He'd been training since he was 3 years old in the art of battle, pulling that longbow, learning how to make them, how to scope the arrows, how to fight off the invaders, a tough, proud history. This guy rocks up with his skinny jeans and his funny hair. And his tattoo sleeves. No disrespect to people that tattoo, but what my point is, he wants to be a boy, doesn't he? He's a geezer, right? And I physically saw him stop at the shop door. It was like a thing. He stopped, put his hand in his pocket, and pulled out his face mask, his muzzle, and he muzzled himself. And then he pulled his shoulders back and charged into... And I thought, that is the fucking irony of the, we used to be a proud nation of warriors, and this guy now is reduced to getting his kicks off virtue signaling, virtue signaling, utter... and passing that shit on to children. Rather than educate yourself, just get out there, folks. Learn about Béchamp, Pasteur. Learn about the history of how we came to be in victim mode with our health and go into trillionaire, psychopathic merchant corporations to fix us. Sorry, John, as you can, just a good chance to get all this out. So, because I know people are listening now and they're going, what he said, not that other narrative. That's fucking stupid. How dumb were we? Anyway, the big question I get asked, mate, is when are the military coming to rescue us?
Mm.
My personal answer is they're not, folks. To join the military, you're very much in ego mode. You're an order follower. You're down on the at the bottom of the pyramid. Yes, sir. Yada yada yada. You believe anyone with any kind of streak of spirituality in them, let's say, is like a fucking hippie, and that was that was how it was when I was in, John. And I say the only person, folks, that's coming to save yourself is you, right?
Yes, yeah.
What would you say? Are the British military coming to save us?
No, I don't. They're at the behest of the government, largely, and that's what this little battle here is to try and put more of these compliant people into the military, so that if anything, in a couple of years' time, the military will be coming to get you, not really save you. Do you know what I mean? And that's what if you're considering joining the military right now and you're thinking, oh no, I don't want to join because I don't want to be, have to be at the end of this political battle. And, I would say the more actual loyalists and the more patriots we can get into the armed forces, the better. So that when that time comes, those people, when the time comes where the government tries to tell the military to do the same things that the police do on a daily basis, i.e. go and arrest or go and threaten, your neighbors for speaking out against all of this degenerate thing, this degenerate movement that's been pushed on our people, you can be there and you can say no. Like if you're one of those people, you disagree with this sort of thing and you're not sure what to do with your life, I would say get in and make sure that you stay true to yourself. And when the time comes where that happens, be a whistleblower, be somebody that's in there to have a positive effect. So no, they're not coming to save us. And yeah, like what you say, Chris, it's like, it's all on you. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's coming to save you. People need to stop thinking like that.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to clear that up because YouTube now, I don't want to say the letter, folks, but it's the round one with a little sticky thing in it. But all those channels that were taken down for being inciting, I think they were taken down for inciting violence. And the funny thing's happened is that they've now reappeared on YouTube. YouTube, for some reason, I don't know if it's because I don't know if Trump's able to serve a third term. I don't know how that works.
But obviously not constitutionally, no.
Yeah, but obviously the 17 guys were very much big supporters of President Trump. I don't know why that's miraculously why they've reappeared back on. But that was one of their things that the military is secretly, they're all aware, they're all genned up, they've all been, told what's going on, they're all there for the children. And they're just waiting for in fact, a lot of people believe in America, they've already been conducting operations. And I would just say it's a gross misunderstanding of not only what a soldier is, but also where their mindset is. And also the mindset of their leaders and the politicians and the cabal. So John, let me think. Were you able to walk away from this and just go, c'est la vie, what's next?
In what sort of context? Like, so was I able to mentally wash my hands of this, or
you asked me, what was it like when I left, and I said I never look back. I don't live in what can be. Oh, that was a great. No, I'm more concerned about what I'm going to do today and look forward to tomorrow. And the thing that I felt, and this is really serious, is I was glad I wasn't tied to a job for 22 years, that really I'd done everything in it that I kind of wanted to do. You
Right.
know, I'd been on active service. I served in the Arctic. I'd been on an aircraft carrier around the world in a high security detachment. I got my I was lucky enough to get on 2 para courses. I
Okay.
won't go into that now, but so I was para trained, and
Nice.
then the kind of hanging around the grots was just, I was getting too old. I just wanted to go and do other stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of my thing. What I'm saying to you is, because it ended prematurely.
Mm.
Did
It's a good
I'm
question. Yeah,
hoping you
I
can
see where you're coming
struggle
from.
that off and like move on as you seem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll say, yeah, ended prematurely and just, yeah. So I definitely didn't do all that I wanted to do, but you can't get everything that you want in life. And when an opportunity rears its head and, it's a choice between your mates dying or not, you've got to side with the not. So yeah, it's to be honest, being plucked out of it, mate, it's like I hate to think how people who have joined the Corps at 16, they're 36, they're 40, whatever, or later, and they come out of the Corps. I hate to think what that must feel like because I was only in for a few years, and coming out was it's just like being removed from a family. It's like I know I'm still a part of the Brotherhood, and I talk to all the lads, and like it's like I have great relationships with a lot of the people that I serve with. But at the same time, I've been removed from, I don't see them in a work context. I don't see them nearly as much. We used to spend all the time, every day together, in the same sort of place. And it is a brotherhood. And to have that removed is unavoidably bad in terms of like just the yeah, it's just a bit. I'm trying not to swear. I swear a lot, and I try not to swear in these things. But it's bad. My vocabulary could do with some fixing. I think I've gotten too used to just swearing all the time. But
I'll
yeah,
teach
not
you.
great, not
Don't
great,
worry.
man. But
You can learn.
yeah,
You can learn a
I'll
thing from me.
yeah.
I don't believe in being a potty mouth.
Yeah. I try like
Bastards.
excuse me. I try not to. It's habit at times, but yeah. To answer your question, ended prematurely, and I can wash my hands of it to a degree, but it's unavoidable. The separation, the feeling, the negative feelings you get from being separated from a brotherhood like that.
Yes, got you. So you've been very vocal. You came to prominence for one thing,
Yeah.
and then it seems like you kind of just stepped into being wide awake, or your awakeness
Right.
in this other role came up, which is
Yeah.
talking about the state of the nation, this invasion that we're being subjected to.
Yeah.
Very briefly, how did that come about?
I think let's have a think. So I've held well, I suppose for me, the number one thing that's happening to this nation is that the native people of this island are going to be a minority in the next 20 years. In births, they already are a minority. In many cities, as I'm sure you're aware, they already are a minority. Um, and especially for the YouTube algorithm, it's worth saying that, like, I don't hate or any of those sorts of things. The people that are being brought in, I just think that our people deserve a homeland, basically. And so with that, well, I suppose to answer your question, it came about when I went to Birmingham and stayed in Bordsley Green one time in the cheapest Airbnb in Birmingham, and was the only white person that I saw in 24 plus hours, and had people talking down to me, people spitting in front of me in the street, and just generally being treated like I was a foreigner, in our own homeland. So that's beyond upsetting to me. And then when you think about how that affects women and children in this country, the native women and children in this country, it's actually harrowing a lot of the situations that our people are living in. So for me, that number one thing, that's happening to this nation, us becoming a minority, needs to be stopped. It needs to be reversed. The people that are here, that are that have come over, we were never asked if we wanted these people to be here. I don't take great pleasure in saying like, oh, I want these people, I want them to go home or whatever necessarily. But I'm not here to look out for these people. I'm here to look out for our own people. And we were never asked. We never consented to any of this. It's having massive negative effects on our culture, our history, our streets, the safety of our streets, the lives of our women and children. So I've for a long time wanted to see that not just stopped, but reversed. And when this all kicked off with the Armed Forces Ministry of Defense, I was aiming for a career in that sort of path, and maybe after it sometime getting political, but I was sort of forced into this position where I was like, I had my, sort of the Ministry of Defense trying to dox me and stuff like that. And they came after me. So I just thought, you know what, they've already burned this ticket. Do you know what I mean? So I'd be as well just saying what I want to say. I'm in a position now where I can say the things that other people aren't able to say because of their jobs. Able to have that mature conversation about the demographics of the country that other people aren't allowed to talk about. So it's in some way it's a gift and a curse. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to be here doing this, but I have a bit of a talent for it, I suppose, and I understand these things, and I more or less have a duty, I feel, to talk about it. So that's how I got here.
Yeah. So how would remigration actually work?
Yeah. More or less the same way that migration worked, to be honest. People essentially saying, okay, this is our homeland. We have a right to decide who we share our homeland with. And at that point, we can say, okay, so these people that are here, you're guests in our home, whether you're really invited or not, we're going to say civil or whatever. And, you're guests, but, by this date, you're going to have to leave. You weren't invited here. Your presence here is having a negative effect on our nation. And I think what you would basically do is start with the men and say, okay, right, blokes, you can go back to your homeland. We'll square that away before this date. Whether you're going on a plane or however, there's many travel means. I think however many million people go through Heathrow and British airports per day. So it could be done in a matter of weeks, really, with the political will. And we say, okay, you go back to your homeland, you find a house, you find a job, and then, your families will come, in a couple of months' time, basically. And what would happen for the people of this nation would be, we'd be able to go out in the streets and be safe again, and we'd have a homeland again, and we'd have unity again, and we wouldn't have all of these international conflicts, which should be international conflicts, right? Like the Israel-Palestine conflict should remain the Israel-Palestine conflict, and it shouldn't be here. But as we saw in Manchester the other week, since our nation is multiracial, multicultural, whatever you want to call it, our streets become an extension of international conflicts, and our children and our women have to live in that environment. And that's just for me, it's something that I will never accept. And how that will work will be a case of, like how I just said, it's just, if you came here legally, you can leave legally. And if you came here illegally, if you came here illegally on a dinghy, you're going to be leaving on a dinghy. And yeah, especially when it comes to murderers, rapists, terrorists, like, people say, like, oh, how would remigration work? Well, it's like, we seem to have the political will to put the murderers, like Lee Rigby's murderers, right, still alive. We're paying for them hundreds of thousands of pounds every year, millions a year for all these terrorists and things. We're paying for them in these prisons and things. Lee Rigby's killers and all these people should at best be deported immediately. And we have the ships, we have the Air Force, we have the ships, we have ferries, we have all the supplies and means available. It's just the political will that's there. And if you want to know how we would get the political will and how we would enact that, that's another conversation to be had. But with the political will, it can be done rapidly. 300 days, I think you could get rid of 15 million people very easily. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and it is becoming a, this would have been deemed as extreme far right, as little as 2 years ago.
Right.
But now, I mean, there's this chap, Steve Laws. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
I don't know Steve, but I do know that remigration now has been his thing, for want of
I made a video for it. And you showed the video at the start of the podcast, actually. That encapsulates a lot of my thinking, to be honest, that video.
Yeah. And also a friend of mine who comes on the podcast, he's been on the podcast several times, Mike McCarthy, and Mike is a hyper intelligent, hyper intellectual, and he completely gets the merchant cabal and every aspect of it, and he's actually put his own plan together to address this situation.
Right.
So I guess what we're saying to friends at home, this is now a big thing, a big debate, a big narrative. Mm-hmm. My question, John, is if you buy into the notion, which obviously I do, mm-hmm. that this cabal, like I say, took control of the money supply 4,000 years ago. They got their act together in recent years. We're talking sort of the last couple of 150, 200 years with the European banking aristocracy, with Adam Weishaupt's illuminated ones, and with the Sabbatean Frankists, which is all the Sabbatean Frankists are a cult that believe if you can't be good, be bad, be really bad, and they worship Satan, or
right.
Baal, as it used to be in the days of old. And this is why, I'll say allegedly, I know what I believe, but this is why you have this black cube symbolism everywhere. Like on Trump Tower, it's a black cube. In Wall Street, you've got, I can't remember, it's the bull, the Baal of Wall Street. At the Commonwealth Games, you had this huge bull, and the scummers, the great unwashed, were all worshipping it with shards of light.
Yeah, which, a lot of this disturbing iconography that you see in the Olympics,
and
as well.
That links to Kabbalah, the shards of light. A simple internet search will bring that up for people who want to learn more. And so my point is, you've got this historic manipulation of people-kind, the planet over, mankind, through the money system, debt-based money slaving, usury, fractional reserve lending. You've got everyone in a hyper-ego state because the notion of spirituality is probably lost on the vast number of people who wouldn't be prepared to put the work in if you... I can tell you that because I talk about it every single day. Talking about it and getting and seeing people follow it is totally different, in the same way as not everyone sees a place joining the Marines or whatever. So... getting to the point, there's a complex web of deceit out there where when you look at the Tavistock unit, the Nudge unit, the Tavistock Institute, the Nudge unit, the Fabian Society, all of these bodies which the merchants control, along with the Freemasons, the church... all of it is in their web, their construct of influence. How are we even going to have remigration, John, when no one even understands anything about what I just said, bar those few committed people that are probably watching now?
That's an interesting question. I think people get wrapped up. Think about this recently, actually. So what are the actual outlets of power that these people are using? Well, they've got the police, they've got the press, they've got the government. They've got some of these people on the street, but really, the power that they hold and the power that they have, it's an information. It's a power of information. If you can address those aspects, and I suppose they've got the courts as well. If you can look at all of those individual outlets of power and say, okay, are they unconquerable? Are the police unconquerable? Are the courts unconquerable? Is the government unconquerable? Is it? I think, to be honest, and I'm asking these questions, but I'll say, in my opinion, it's a house of cards that is very tentatively put together, relying on this almost mass hysteria of people to follow along with things that they know not to be true. And it can seem so that's in fact, maybe the most powerful aspect that they have. And it can seem untoppable, but I think it can be done if you can take those institutions, which I think can be done. Then I think we'd be in a very good position where the average person doesn't need to know. We don't need the average person to really see behind the curtain necessarily. I think the average person tacitly understands where power is and where the negative aspects of society are coming from. At that point, we can just we can square it away, Chris. I don't know. What do you think on that front?
Oh, good question, brother. So, nothing in this arena, as you can see, I'm tripping over my words. Nothing. There's nothing is straightforward. My bottom dollar, and I say this is why people watch my channel, is I say if you can't even be asked to save yourself first, don't even. How do you think the country is miraculously? Because part of your own enlightenment is understanding the whole ego process that we're under. There's people out there with massive influence in this country. I'm talking members of the public with huge followings. And yet, I'm talking from a psychosocial construct here. They're massive egomaniacs, and this is the trap. This is the trap that's kind of set for us. Is I say bottom dollar, save yourself first. Understand what is emancipation from mental slavery, as Bob Marley sang about. What does that actually mean? What do you have to do to achieve that? What's the physical or even spiritual or energy result of doing this thing? And this isn't even a conversation that anyone's ever really had, bar a few YouTube channels, and there's probably some cracking books out there. And we've somehow got this notion that, and the reason I say that is two things come off the back of that, John. First, you save yourself and you get to wake up every single day in paradise. Fact. In scripture, it's referred to as heaven on earth. In Old Testament, it's referred to as the promised land of milk and honey, which just means serotonin and DMT. And the result of that is you get to live every day in paradise and you get to become a much better person for it, right? Okay. And you get to influence then the energy field of life by the fact that you're a much more productive, high energy, putting out person rather than the one that's shuffling along on their phone, looking forward to, getting a can of Stella on the go and not saying hello to anyone and shouting at the kids and what benefits can I get get from this great nation next? That kind of. I'm not, I've been all of these characters, so it's not a judgment, folks. One of those characters puts out, the other takes, don't they, from the energy field. So there's a lot of work, basic fundamental work we can do there. But the second result of emancipating yourself is that you then do affect change, because life is energy, vibration, and frequency.
Right.
It is. It's a bit like if you chuck a turkey in the oven, and then you stand outside lighting matches. Nothing changes. But if you can change the energy, the vibration, and the frequency in that oven, which we all know, you just turn a switch. Wow, you affect significant change, certainly for that turkey. And when you get the masses that are there and they recognize something's wrong in this country, but they all kind of think someone else is going to fix it, and maybe that's, I'm not blaming them. I mean, who else is? I mean, I'm not going to go up and punch Keir Starmer and drag him out of office. I wouldn't want to do the 20 years in prison that I'd probably get sentenced to.
I'd like to see it though, Chris. It would be.
Yeah, well, with AI, mate, someone can knock up a video of me doing that, and I get it. But what I would say is to those 2 million people in London is, don't forget, folks, you can also work on you. You can go home, and rather than put on the BBC or you can say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to, learn what is all this scriptures about. You hear about it your whole life, and we just scoff at it. We think because we've had the religious brainwashing as kids, we think that's all nonsense, and we don't realise that therein lies a phenomenal, the code of life, as it were. And this is sort of where my thinking is, John. But of course, everything is to a degree subjective. However, as somebody pointed out to me in a very kind message today, they said they were talking about gnosis. Right. Gnosis is the ability to know things as opposed to hope or just kind of believe. And gnosis is a product of the Enlightenment experience. And one thing I know is that certain people out there at the moment, they are not good for this country. And I'm not mentioning names because I don't attack other people. It's I've got enough to work out in my own life before I point out the splinter in other people's eyes. But you just know where people are. You sense where their ego is. You can totally get what their motivations sort of are. And a bit of a long-winded way, John, is like, I totally get the immigration thing. It goes back, the first foray into it was something called Windrush, which was back in the 40s. And that was the cabal. You can trace it, the merchants. They under the radar. There was this. Sorry, I'm friends. I appreciate I'm talking a lot, but I think this is good. This is the stuff people need to know.
I'm here for it.
There was a Commonwealth Act, John. I can't remember the official name of it, but it was a Commonwealth Act that came into operation. It was voted in after the war. Or it was passed through Parliament, this paper, after the war. Yeah. And they put it out to Commonwealth people. If you want to come and live in Britain on your passport, you can do that. And it was aimed at, for example, Australians and Kiwis and not to put too fine a point on it, but people that are kind of like just like us. That was the kind of ethos from what I understand. And what the merchants did with their New World Order plan is, they skipped across the Caribbean and under the radar, like, without the knowing of the British government, they put adverts out saying, "Do you want a new life in Britain?" And again, I'm just going to say this for the sake of saying it, folks. None of us are racist here. John and I fought alongside Afro-Caribbeans or people of Afro-Caribbean origin in the Corps. They were our brothers. No issues whatsoever. Don't care. It's not the point I'm making. The point is, for this cabal, is they knew that when you start flooding a country en masse with people from a completely different culture, you're not supporting either. It's to the detriment of both, and that eventually you'll wear away at the existing country and its culture to the point where it ceases to exist, and that is the New World Order. This is the plan.
They're quite happy destroying nations. They don't, and this is the part that I think people don't quite wrap their head around. Is why would they destroy nations? Because then they're going to have less. There's going to be less money, or there's going to be less wealth to go around. But I don't think it really matters to these people how much wealth is going around or how much societal development there is. If they have the power, they're quite happy to destroy a whole a nation. As long as they hold the keys, they're quite happy with that. People don't like to think those people exist, but my experience would tell otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting topic in itself. For example, these data centers that they're using now to manage life, your life, my life. I'm guilty. I use AI pretty much every day. It's been an extremely useful tool for a one-man band like me. But these data centers, one data center can use 1/10 of the energy of the state that it's in. Well, that's coal, gas, oil, whatever it might be, solar. That's your energy, John, that they need to run these centers. They don't want you. They don't want. There isn't enough. Eventually there's not going to be enough for everyone. So logic would dictate either one thing has to give: the data centers or the people, the population numbers. And I would suggest, when you look at the medical nonsense, they don't mind getting rid of quite a few people, do they?
Yeah.
Secondly, if you've got this new world order put together, you don't want a load of scumbags enjoying it. The great unwashed, the plebs, the people. You want just enough of those, just enough of those minions to do your dirty jobs, and with a strata of the middle class. This is your George Orwell now, isn't it? 1984. A strata of middle class pushing the buttons and telling the great unwashed what the proles what to do, while the rest of it. And in one way, John, you could almost see why they do it, because at the moment the planet's just been destroyed. It's ugly where I live. I live on pretty much live in one of the most picturesque parts of the planet, right on the edge of Dartmoor. And now I remember my dad saying as a kid, "Oh, they'll never build McDonald's on Dartmoor." I'm like, "Fuck off, Dad, they will." That is absolutely, you're going to watch Dartmoor ever more encroached in. And anyone that's ever been in Plymouth now, drive from Plymouth to Dartmoor. What have you got? You've got car showrooms, you've got BMW, you've got,
got a nature crisis, man. Our natural surroundings are being destroyed. Our connection to them is being severed. And then people will wonder why we have so many mental health issues. And it's a horrible reality, to be honest, isn't it?
So that was my answer. So, but I am a great, I don't live in the clouds, John. I'm just a realist. I understand what's going on. They're playing everyone by their ego and the fear, and the dumbing down. And until we recognize two things, that it's a cabal. Just look at the scam. They locked everyone down in their homes for the best part of 2. That is a global network. This is very, very good at what they do. Right?
Well-established practice. They
yes.
rehearsed these things beforehand.
They know that every weak, lily-livered person, and I hold my hand up, I've been one of those people before. I'll probably be one in the future when it comes to some issue, right? They know that the lily-livered public will just go along with it rather than revolt and go, no, I'm not doing that. It ain't right. I ain't doing it for the kids, you know? And which in that scenario, I absolutely did, because I realized the severity of of where it was leading, you know? So until we recognize there's a cabal and they're very good at what they do, they control the money system, and that they control through energy, vibration, and frequency. That's your energy, your vibration, and your frequency. You know, there's a reason Stephen King, 40 odd years ago now, almost 50 years ago, got a $300,000 advance when he wrote Carrie. Right. You got to think, who owns all the companies in the world? Who owns the media, the Hollywood, the music industry, the publishing industry, right? They're putting out a narrative. The reason J.K. Rowling came to fame wasn't so much that she wrote a book on the back of a tissue in the local cafe whilst unemployed. It was more the subject matter that she wrote about is just ticks the box for let's get some of the occult onto the kids. So that's what I would say. John, listen, thank you for letting me speak.
No, mate, I listen to you all day.
I just think it's all well and good. Sometimes I invite people on and they're a bit, it's, you know, a lot of people out there quite influenced, you know. So there's certain subjects I'm just not going to entertain, John, because I've lived in 86 countries across all 7 continents. There's certain things you just know. And, sorry, I'm going to stop talking now. Mate, it's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Chris, I appreciate it, man.
Friends out there, what I'll say is if you've got questions for John, put them in the comments. Be polite, because we you know, we're in a period now where lots of veterans are taking their lives.
I'm not suicidal. Let me put that out there. I need to say that publicly as much as I can.
I'm just talking in general. Is that when you leave comments, folks, you've got to remember the state of mind of lots of people out there, not just veterans, and you can't just be writing nasty stuff to people. So just be polite in your comments. Leave some questions for John, and we'll get John back on again. And,
mate, I'd love that. I'd love that, Chris. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, not a problem. And you know, I'll just fire the questions at you, John, and let you answer them all. You know.
Yeah, happy with that. Certainly.
Right, I've got to go, brother. I would say sorry to bring this to an abrupt halt. It's just I've got another podcast booked in 15 minutes. So I better go and prepare for it.
Incidentally, so do I.
Good. Good.
So I appreciate that, and thanks for having us on, man. And I'll be in touch sometime soon.
No problem. Just hold the line one sec, John, so I can say goodbye properly. Friends at home, if you can like and subscribe and click the notification bell, that would be absolutely awesome. Thank you. And can I just say thank you to everybody that's chipped in a $5 for my upcoming Mount Everest summit, to shine a light for struggling veterans, to make the link between unhealed childhood trauma, also known as adverse childhood experiences, and the suicide epidemic that we're witnessing in the military community, because nobody is talking about it. You know, nobody is making that link, and that's for a variety of reasons, both political and personal. So there's a link below, folks, if you can chuck us a $5 to help me summit Mount Everest and support a PTSD camp down in Cornwall. John, massive thank you again. I'll just come and say goodbye. Wait there. Let me play us out. Much love, folks. Go steady.